So welcome to episode 2. You're joining me out here in Namibia. It's our first training camp of the Olympic year, and it's probably the camp I enjoy the least. Quite a few people say that they struggle at Sierra Nevada just because the altitude is so high that even your usual day-to-day is very hard work. You're out of breath just walking to and from sessions and up and down the stairs, let alone covering the amount of miles we do on the ergos. But Namibia to me is a completely different kettle of fish. Now, if you're not very good at cycling, which I'm not awful, I just don't particularly enjoy it, so I don't do it outside of this camp. So when we come here just to do 2 weeks of it, it is a bit of a shock to the system. But why do we come to Namibia? So Namibia is only 2 hours ahead. We used to go to Dalstrom in South Africa, which was 2 hours ahead as well. And because of that, you don't spend a long period of time acclimatizing, getting used to a big time zone change. Because it's only 2 hours, we can land sort of mid-afternoonish, and then the following morning we can go straight into training. So it doesn't hit you as hard as, say, when we went to Tokyo for our little recce almost 2 years ago now. We arrived there, and it took pretty much the entire week to get used to that time zone change. By the time we had acclimatized, it was time to fly home a week later. So here, you get none of that. It is at altitude. It's about 1,800 meters. And if you think back, London, don't quote me on this, but you're sort of looking at about 30 meters above sea level, I guess. Here, you're sort of 1,800. Sierra Nevada, you're about 2,300-ish meters. So it's up there, it is altitude, but the best thing about this place is just the heat, and it's a different way to test the body, stress the body, help it get stronger, and help it to adapt and get just fitter, which for me I need. I definitely felt like I lost a little bit of fitness and put on a bit of pudge during the Christmas holidays. And if you did watch episode 1 when I did the New Year's Eve workout with my buddy Matt, that was actually really tough. If I were to redo that workout now, I reckon I'll be a lot fitter and a lot stronger, and I'll breeze through that sort of workout. So this camp has definitely helped me. We actually fly home tomorrow, so I've left this till the very last day to film. Part due to laziness, part due to fatigue. I think I was quite ill for sort of the first week and a half. The last couple of days, my heart rate has dropped quite substantially. And that's one of the key markers that we look for to make sure we're healthy. But because I arrived on camp and my heart rate is sort of about 52, I just assumed that was my current resting. But the last few days, it's been right down at sort of 43, 44. So that gives me an indication that the reasons I was struggling earlier on in the camp wasn't because I was really unfit, it's because possibly I was a little bit under the weather, and that's easy to pick up a cold or just some sort of illness when you're on a cramped plane for sort of 10 plus hours at one go. And there were people sort of blowing their noses, felt quite congested on the plane, so that would have been a very easy environment to pick up an illness. But yeah, it's not my favorite camp, but it is very good. It's very beneficial. Got my words out in the end. So what we do out here, we do a lot of cycling. We spend a lot of time on the rowing machines. And we spend a lot of time in the weights room. The weights room is probably the biggest difference from Namibia to Dalstrom. So in Dalstrom, the weights room, it was basically a shed. I don't know if that's too harsh to say, but it was one room, it was a tiled floor. The weights were very old school, very rusty. You couldn't do any really heavy lifts, you couldn't do any deadlifts or bench pulls, because as soon as you put the weight on the ground, or if you dropped it by accident, you would break the floor and you'd have to pay for that. Now, Namibia, we're actually in Windhoek, which is the capital of Namibia, and we go to a Virgin Active, which is great. The staff there are amazing. The staff everywhere are amazing, but it's such a welcome change to what we had in Dalstrom. We can really get stuck in and get big and strong in the weights room, which Some days you're wishing it wasn't on the program because your legs are so fatigued from the cycling, but deep down you know that you have to keep grinding. You need to get that volume into the legs. You need to get that sort of that power base and that fitness base for what's to come. Because when we leave this camp, within the first sort of 3 weeks of being back home, we have both a 5,000 meter ergo test and a 2,000 meter ergo test, and then some more testing, and then we fly out to Portugal. So there's a lot of testing coming up after this camp. So right now we need to get big and strong and as fit as possible.
Run.
Celebrating anything that I become. You people are mistaken if you think that I'm awake and celebrating anything that I become.
What's up, homeboy? It's Ryan.